how much cardio is exactly optimal if your goal is to lose fat. What is up guys, Austin here, welcome to the video, and today I'm going to be going over how much cardio is exactly optimal if your goal is to lose fat. And so what is cardio in the first place? So cardio is any type of exercise where you elevate your heart rate for an extended period of time. A lot of things that come to mind when you think of cardio is obviously running, cycling, swimming, etc. Just anything you're doing that elevates your heart rate for an extended period of time. And so the first thing I want to address is cardio necessary to lose fat? The answer is no. The one and only thing that will determine if you lose fat or not is being in a calorie deficit. And a calorie deficit is basically the equation of calories in versus calories out. If you have less calories coming in and more calories going out, then you will lose fat. If you have more calories coming in and less calories going out, then you will gain weight. And so the answer is absolutely not. You do not need cardio. You can do it diet alone. You can just eat less and you will be able to lose fat that way. But in the grand scheme of things, if you want to improve your heart health, then definitely incorporate some cardio. There's a reason why it's called cardio. Cardio is short for cardiovascular. So definitely incorporating some cardiovascular exercise is very good for heart health, because if you have small biceps, that is fine, but if your heart stops beating, then you die. That's why if your goal is to lose fat, I recommend incorporating a change in your diet as well as a change in your exercise routine. That way you can increase the calories outside of the equation and you will be able to lose fat more. And so now let's get into the question of how much cardio is exactly optimal for fat loss. And so I have some recommendations here from the American Heart Association. So they recommend 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity exercise per week. And what I like to think about for these different intensity levels is that moderate intensity is you're going at a pace where you can barely hold a conversation. You can, but you would like not to. You can barely do it. And vigorous is obviously you can't hold a conversation. You're going pretty hard during the exercise. And so my opinion on these recommendations is that they are pretty good for the average sedentary person. If you are someone who is at a desk most of the time, someone who just doesn't move throughout the day very much, unlike someone who does a lot of manual labor, a lot of being on their feet, a lot of just moving around throughout your day, then these numbers can obviously go down a bit. But for the average sedentary person, these numbers are good from the American Heart Association. But I think that if you are someone who is new to exercise, you definitely just don't want to jump into doing these numbers. You can injure something, you can just cause a burnout just from doing too much in such a short amount of time. You want to be able to gradually start and implement these numbers and slowly get there so that you're able to follow your program as well as get the adaptations that you want for your body. And now let's get into different modes or types of cardio that you can do. And so some of the most common ones you'll see at the gym, we have treadmills, you have cycles, ellipticals, Stairmaster, rowing machines. They might vary from gym to gym, but you get the point. You can do a lot of different types of cardio. Yes, different types of cardio would burn more calories than others, but I think the best type that you can do is the one that you enjoy and can follow long term, because if you enjoy your cardio and stick to it, then you will obviously better results than doing a form of cardio that burns more calories but you hate it. Let's say you love cycling, you can do it every single day, it's something you enjoy and you just love it, versus running, you hate it, you dread doing it, but it also burns more calories in the same amount of time. And so you can either do cycling every single day, stick to it, burn less calories in the same amount of time, but you enjoy doing it more, or you can do running less, but it burns the same amount of calories, but you hate it. And so obviously the best one is to choose cycling over running because you love it, you do it more, you can do it more often. If you do running, you hate it, you'll eventually stop doing it because you hate it so much, and you will just not get the results that you want because you're just not following your program. Do you get what I'm saying? All right, and now another point that I want to get into is mixing cardio and weight training. And so obviously for optimal results, you definitely don't want to do exclusively just cardio or just weight training, but rather a mix of both for best results. Weight training will increase your resting metabolic rate, which is the amount of calories that you burn just at rest and just sitting and just being alive in general. And cardio can just increase your energy expenditure as well, just through movement. And that's why I recommend mixing these two. And so now comes the question of how much you do of each one. And this really depends on your goals. Do you want to be more muscular and more jacked? Or do you want to have a crazy endurance time? You're training for a marathon. You just want to be able to run, to swim, to cycle for long periods of time. If you want to be more muscular, more jacked, then obviously you're training more towards weight training. If you want to be more endurance centered, then obviously you train more endurance. And if you're someone who just wants to be good at both, then find some sort of middle ground where you're able to do both. But I will say that you cannot be the best at weight training or endurance because your body has two types of systems. I don't really want to get too much into that right now, but weight training stresses one body system adaptation, whereas endurance training stresses another system within the body. And so you definitely cannot be the best at both. You can be kind of good at both, somewhere in the middle ground, but you cannot be like the best powerlifter and you cannot be like the best marathon runner. It just doesn't happen because of your body systems and the way they adapt. And now time for like a short little personal story. I was kind of victim of this for the past few weeks. I was trying to maximize my strength training and I was lifting 3 times a week and doing cardio 6 times a week, 30 minutes at like a moderate intensity. And right now, one of my goals is just to be super strong and just build the most muscle that I can. But at the same time, I really wanted to maximize my endurance. I just really wanted to be well conditioned. And so I was doing 6 cardio sessions and pushing really hard in the weights as well. And I found myself just like fatiguing. I went to the gym. I didn't really enjoy it as much as I used to. I would think back and be like, wow, I kind of hate being here. Like every time I went to the gym, I just kind of dreaded doing it. I was just going through the motions. I didn't really have a drive like I used to. Like before, I would love going to the gym. I would honestly look forward to like all my training sessions and just being there and just heading there. But recently, I found that like I kind of like hated it. Like up to the moments where I would have to go to the gym, I'm like, I have to go to the gym. And so take my experience as kind of a lesson. You don't want to do too much on either side. Pick one thing that you want to do and then just do that. And then you can kind of incorporate the other one in there, but just like you can't be doing too much and trying to maximize both. It just doesn't work like that. Your body just can't do it. If it were possible, then obviously there would be power lifters who lifted a ton of weight as well as be able to run a marathon in under 2 hours. It just doesn't happen. And so these are my recommendations if you want to implement cardio. If you're new, if you are just starting out, you don't really have like a cardio routine, I recommend 2 to 3 sessions a week of 20 to 30 minutes. Definitely start at low intensity if you're new. You don't want to go too hard and just burn yourself out and risk injury. And then as these cardio sessions get easier and easier as your body adapts to it, I like to increase intensity before duration because I think that's more realistic for a person. Because if you're starting out at 30 minutes of low intensity and you increase by 5 minutes every session, it's kind of unrealistic because as you get better and better, you don't need to be doing 90 minutes of cardio eventually, and that's just kind of unrealistic. Instead, you keep the time the same and bump the intensity. That's what I like to do. Personally, I like to do Stairmasters, so when my cardio sessions get a little bit easier or they just kind of feel like a breeze, I will up the intensity by 1. And then obviously if you're starting out at 20 minutes or less, you can increase the time because you have a lot of time to work with. If you are working towards endurance, then you definitely want to increase the time that you're doing because you want to be training that. But I think the best length of time to do cardio is plan it around your schedule, around your needs, around your cans. Like if you can only do cardio for 15 minutes, then just do cardio for 15 minutes. If you only have time in your day to do 40 minutes, then just do 40 minutes. And then you can kind of work with the intensity there and just progress however you feel or whatever your goals are. Because at the end of the day, you should plan fitness around your life, not your life around fitness. Alright, and that about wraps up my video. Let me know if these tips helped. Like this video if you enjoyed it and learned something to apply to your everyday life. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.